Hello, everyone. My name is Jorge Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and this is episode 3 of a series I'm calling How Do You Describe Infusionsoft Success? I have the privilege today of hosting Craig Jacobson. He's a gentleman that I met back in September at the Memberium Summit. Micah Mitchell, who's one of the principals over there, invited him to speak, and it was a huge surprise for me because I expected to come away only with membership sort of information. And the recurring theme of the 3 days when we were together was, how do you build sites that are more effective on mobile devices? And Craig just would not let it up. He even challenged some of the people whose names I will not mention about why aren't you effective on mobile, and if you're not focused on it, you're probably not going to be effective. And it was really interesting dialogue that we had. And since then, I've actually made it. Since we're web developers, we've actually built 3, and we've got 2 more in the works, which are really following a lot of the principles. So that's why I thought he'd be a great guest to have on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Craig just introduce himself because I probably won't do him justice. So Craig, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, George.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do for a living. I guess you're in San Diego, right?
I live in San Diego. I work in San Diego. I am, I guess, a son, a brother, a husband, a father. And
you're the father of girls like me. I have 3 girls. You have 2, right?
2 girls, yes. And they're a delight. And I've been a marketer for 30 years. That's what I studied in graduate school. That's what my career was when I worked with big companies, and now I own small companies and run marketing for a bunch of small companies.
Great. So when you say, because I know you mentioned this when we spoke, that you own them because you go out and you search for companies that you think would be good for you, but you kind of help make these companies become something they're not when you started, right?
Yes, I also do some client work, but it's nicer when you have control. When I'm gambling, our money, those decisions of these crazy things that work otherwise are unconventional. They don't make sense to partner, and it's your money. Then you can go do wonderful things.
So sometimes you have to convince your customers that this is something they absolutely need to do, right?
Yeah, and so sometimes that's just too difficult, and so it's just easier to just own the business and do it with them, and to say, this is what we're doing. It's my money at stake, not yours.
Gotcha.
Then they make their decisions. Because otherwise they do safe things, and the safe things aren't always the effective things. I'm ceaselessly looking for those things that help us break out of the standard molds.
Gotcha. So give us an example. I tell you, we had dinner one night where you gave us some really great stories. And I know that before we started, you were telling me about something else. You share that kind of so people get an idea of what makes a good client for you.
Well, I've done 2 info product launches this year. One was $1.1 million. The other was $1.7 million. I've done a crowdfunding campaign that was $1.2 million. Grown a number. I like early stage companies. They're normally about $250,000 to $500,000 in revenue, and growing them up to 5 or 10 million. That's sort of my sweet spot. But I've done that with a lot of different businesses. So sometimes they're perpetual availability products. Sometimes they're launch model things. They're all good.
So can you get specific with some of these? So what does this $250,000 company look like, and what do you do to get them to the $1, $2, and $10 million?
Well, figure out how the sales and marketing process let it go. So I can't talk about those particularly without talking to my partners in advance.
No, right. I don't want to have to get legal disclosures in place.
Yeah, so that I can either tell you the techniques, and then I don't need permission, or I can tell you, how it worked for specifically who.
Well, share with us what makes sense, because what I'm trying to do is, in this series, when I spoke to these other people walked away with, oh, maybe that's something I should consider.
Okay, well, like the launch that we just did right recently was in the weight loss niche. And so we used both Facebook traffic and affiliate traffic. We drove people to take a quiz. I love quizzes. To tell me something about themselves, and so that they feel seen, and we can provide some relevant content for them. And after that, we offered 3 informational videos and then a sales video. We were playing the scarcity game, so the product was available for about a week. The cart closed, and it needed to create urgency because there's a zillion products that we're competing with on television every day.
Sure, sure.
And so, we were able to drive, 370,000 people to the website in a month. 107,000 opted into our email list, and 2,500 people bought from us.
Okay, so they opted in, and you said you gave them 3 videos. Those are kind of like indoctrination type of videos?
Free, surprising things that they didn't know. So the goals of those were to educate people and to build trust. But even if they didn't buy our product, they'd be left better off for having been exposed to the ideas that we have.
Okay, so you're giving away valuable free information, and again, trust is I'm sure that's key, right?
Trust and skill are the keys to sales, I think.
Okay, and then making sure that, because I'm sure, again, weight loss product can be bought just about from anyone, right? So it's why you?
Why you? And so, we have sort of a special recipe of how they do things, and it's actually a pretty dramatic product. It's an incredibly valuable product and really unique, but it's not a physical product. It's how you deal with your relationship with food.
Okay, so here you are selling something, and so here you are selling something that you know to be good, only because you've experienced it, you've spoken to these people, you as the marketing guy, studied, the topic, right, and these people, but you've got to convey that to someone who's kind of going, well, is this a snake oil salesman, right? That's kind of what you're overcoming, right?
Always. That's actually more generally the problem that small businesses have, is that they've never heard of you, and they may not have heard of your take on the world. And if you're going to stand out, you have to be both different but not weird. So you've got to be trustworthy, credible, be able to deliver the goods. So I like working with products and services that are just really exceptional, but they just haven't been able to find their voice in the world. So to have it not be weird, there's a particular way that you kind of tell those stories and wrap those up properly.
Oh, so cool. Okay, so you're doing the indoctrination. You're giving them value. You're building that trust, and then at some point you send them to a sales page. Okay, and then and it ends up being a numbers game, because if you throw enough traffic at something that has a good conversion, you'll get money out the other end, right?
You never know what your conversion rates are going to be like. But if you send enough people, you're going to make some money. Even a blind squirrel will find a nut occasionally. But that's not what I'm usually looking for. I'm looking for very substantial changes in businesses. So we test things like crazy.
Yeah, the one thing that considering who you work with and what you do, there was just so much. To call it administrivia, but you were just doing so many permutations, doing a lot of just detail work, right?
Well, if the first place that people are going to meet you is the homepage of the site or a landing page, we usually run 10 to 15 variations of it to find out how people really want that thing to go. Hook up all kinds of measurement on it. And then if we're then offering them some valuable information with some variations on that, some script variations, some decoration variations on how the page looks, and then we usually have variations on the sales page and on the order form. I think that one of if there's a first takeaway for your listeners, is the problem that most small businesses have is they just do one thing. 1 is the number that kills small businesses. If it's important, you do 3. I think the Navy SEALs have a saying that 1 is none, 2 is 1. Actually, I think 3 is 1. You want to find something that works, do 3 of it. If you really want to figure out, and you're really serious about it, you do 10 of it to figure out, which one of those 10 variations is the one that works right.
Right, and I'm sure to take that to the next step, you'll probably take the 1 out of those 10 and then maybe try another 10 to see if you one-up it.
That's
So
right. You got it.
Incessant testing is what I'm hearing.
That's just relentless pursuit of what works. So everyone's opinion is just a horse in a race. Our job is to create a race. If you want winning horses, enter a lot of horses in the race, find the couple winners, and then take the winners from those races and then run another race.
Yeah,
and that's
I tell you, that's, I don't do what you do on your scale, but I run into customers all the time as they're wanting websites built or Infusionsoft campaigns built, and it's kind of like, I want it like this, and I want it pretty, and I want it, and it's kind of like, what you and I like is irrelevant, right?
It's completely irrelevant. What people like is stuff that works. You will adapt your aesthetic sensibility. Realize that the campaign that you like doesn't make you money, and the campaign that makes you money, you don't like the look of it. You have a way of falling in love with it in time.
Yeah, and that's that's just one of those I guess it comes with this business. And now that really going back to your original point, which was when you're working with your own money, you can make all the decisions. You don't have to fight with these issues that come up, right?
Yeah, because I'm not trying to sell people something. I'm just, trying to run tests to find what works and let's run it. And because I have a lot of performance-based compensation in everything that I do. So I'm incentivized to go find the new truth, the new way that you can sell this particular thing, rather than incentivized off of, X number of dollars and here's a project delivered. And then it doesn't work as expected. Well, of course, because it wasn't tested enough. I think it is testing that sets us free.
Got it. Hey, I'd like to kind of cover some of the, your thinking on mobile optimization, because that was, again, I left that Chicago conference that I went to just really, it's like, this is not something I thought I'd be doing in October. But, here I am, based on really a lot of what you taught us. So give a little bit of an overview of that thinking. Okay,
well, if you look at Facebook is the most open of the big web services companies. Annual report, you'll see that they earn 70% of their money on mobile devices. 70% of their users, somewhere between 65 and 70% of Facebook visitors are on mobile. The hints that we have from Google suggest that they have also about 60 to 70% of their people are on mobile. So if you have a normal small business, you should have about 70% of your traffic on mobile devices. So that's sort of the big change.
And you're just extrapolating what these two big dogs see.
Yeah, because they come from Facebook and they come from Google to your website. They don't put their phone away and then go get a laptop when they come to your website.
Right.
So if they're not on your website, if you're not enjoying 70% of your traffic being on mobile devices, they're not going to your website, they're going to someone else's. So that feels like a competitive advantage for small businesses. So how can I, if they're browsing on mobile devices, on big web services, other sites, then they're going to come to your site. They should mirror sort of the overall behavior of people in general. So I've kind of figured out the light went on for me, because I think that there's a defect in people's thinking. And that is, okay, let's go back to a time when there was a big technology change. And that is when transportation was changing, the beginning of last century. So horses and carriages were the predominant mode of transportation. And then there was these horseless carriages, and then there was the true automobile. And we've lived, our life in the automobile age. So I think the web similarly has been going through a change where it was all desktop before, and then right now it's blended desktop and mobile. The future is all mobile. That people are interacting with big iPhones and tablets, and they're buying stuff and they're interacting with content. So it isn't responsive sites are important, but it's really more important that you design it for the mobile, the new world of mobile first and foremost. So the rules that I think I've kind of been following is on mobile sites, number one, build it for mobile first. Number two, that means never have a page load more than 2 seconds if it's in the money path. If
Okay,
it's in the opt-in,
2 second load time. Huge.
2 second load times are under. And then everything in the money path has to be under 2 seconds, because if it takes more than 2 seconds, they go away and they don't opt in and they don't consume your stuff. So 2 second load times is absolutely incredible.
So that pretty much says get rid of any sliders you might have on your sites, right?
Oh yeah. And don't do 2-column sites, do 1-column sites wherever possible. So the responsive theme, if you're building a responsive theme, it'll look good on mobile and work very well on mobile as well.
Gotcha.
And then the next thing on mobile is don't ask people to type. Wherever possible, click to opt in using Facebook, click to opt in with Google, click to opt in, click to pay on Amazon, click to pay with PayPal. And you'll be able to sell on mobile when you follow those couple basic rules.
Right, and it's basically like make sure that the buttons are such that you can hit them with a fat finger.
Big fat fingers and tiny screens. So 44 pixels is the minimum size of any action that you're asking someone to take on mobile. And when we're creating landing pages, I actually care almost more about how well the mobile version works, because you can get a ton of mobile traffic and it's relatively inexpensive if you're doing paid traffic. Which
so mobile traffic's easier to get, you're thinking?
Oh, it's much easier. There's a ton of it, and it's cheaper. So that seems to be things that me as a small business owner that I like, and my partners and clients all love. So like a click for one client, a click to get somebody to visit a website for a solar installer, it costs about $260 on desktop. It costs about 50 to 80 cents, 48 to 72 cents, I think.
And is that because you're not competing with as many people?
No, I guess not. I mean, the advantage is there's a real advantage in always being contrarian. Everyone else is, if everyone thinks that desktop is the game, you got to find another game,
right.
and you can win.
Right. So you're getting into SEO, SEM prices. So it looks like if it's lower, it's because fewer people are bidding on it, right?
That's right, because they probably don't know how to convert that traffic.
Gotcha.
So they probably had experiments with it and say, oh, mobile doesn't convert. Well, sure it doesn't when it takes 20 seconds to load a page and you ask people to fill out 5 fields of information, and they've got these tiny little submit buttons that are weird. Like, of course it's not going to work. Then you start to go do those things right, all of a sudden the amount of mobile traffic goes up and your mobile opt-ins go up. Like earlier this year, I was doing, in one of those launches, it was the first of my sites where it didn't make any difference. We sold as much and we opted in as much on mobile as we did on desktop by following those simple rules that I just outlined for you.
Yeah, so it's not like you're penalizing the guy on the PC.
No, actually, interestingly, everything that you do that makes mobile work seems to make desktop work about 10 to 12% better in general.
Oh,
people don't really like to type.
Since we have, again, we built those 3 sites, we have 2 in the works, and our site's going to be released this way. If everything goes well, maybe later this month, might be November, December. The shoemakers' kids go barefoot.
I know.
But they're easier to build. I mean, you have to, and there's one thing that you pointed out, you have to be so much more concise in your copy because you don't have the real estate. That aside, they're easier to build.
So if you're going to talk about 20 things on your website, you have to be more concise. You've got to get to the point faster on mobile, which actually works very well on desktop too. And you've got to choose the 5 things that you're going to talk about and choose the other 15 you're not going to, which actually is why testing is so much more important, to find the sweet conversation that moves to the next conversation. The conversation that gets you to meet the friends or meet the brothers and sisters or meet the parents, and ultimately, the conversation you're down on a new proposing, your sales page.
Good word picture there. Good analogy. Good. Well, Craig, thank you so much. This was kind of what I was hoping to get from you, both, example of the kind of cool projects you work on, but this whole mobile thinking, which, actually, you're even now reminding me of a few things that I had forgotten from your presentations, but, this is all great. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I don't use Infusionsoft order forms except as a backup, and I don't use Infusionsoft opt-in forms. Well, they're not mobile friendly, and they're opt-in forms. They penalize us. They have gotten better, actually, interestingly, in their load times, but it punishes us. So you opt in a little bit differently using the API or Gravity Forms or Lead Pages or something else that actually might be snappier.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, but again, I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure our audience will as well.
I hope that helps everyone. Thanks. Thanks, George.
Oh, you're welcome.